Yeah, there he is.
It's 5:01, and I call this meeting of the Hampton Collegiate ISD Board of Trustees to order. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and is open to the public. Proceedings are being recorded and official minutes will be taken to document today's actions. If during the course of this meeting, discussion of any item on the agenda is required to be held in closed session, the board will meet in executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code, Chapter 551, subchapters D and E. Before we move to our agenda items, we'll open the floor for public comment.
Yes. God, pray, Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you, Lord, that be with us as we take on these everything to heart for our children, for our kids, for our administrations, for teachers, for our city. That Lord, we pray that your blessings over each one of these in Jesus' name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Financial audit for the fiscal year ending August 2025. Public hearing is first. What? Bring your public hearing. I have to call roll. Oh, okay. Do I have to actually call people's names, or can I just say this thing?
You can say which ones.
Okay. Let the record show that we have a quorum present with the following members in attendance: Sherman Bates, Derek Moore, Jennifer Prater, Carrie Moore, Dr. Chad Smith, Sheila Darnell.
Yes.
Chad White, sorry.
It's closer.
When is it?
We know what we're talking about. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Financial audit for the fiscal year ending August 2025. We're going to do the first reading first. That's right.
The first reading,
First reading. That's fair.
have it in your packet. Yes. So, look, it shows superior achievement of 198 points. So, you're like 0.02 away from getting 100. Hopefully that will you'll see the disclosure, the superintendent's contract is on the website, or one of the closing disclosure statements. You'll see also the reimbursements. You'll see each of the board meetings and Charlie goes to training last year.
It's in your original report. This
okay.
isn't
I
Gerald's.
wasn't seeing it, okay, thank you.
This thing is Gerald's. This isn't mine.
I apologize.
No, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
This disclosure statements, and that has all this goes back 2 years. You'll know this is 23, 24. So it was for 98 out of 100. It'll show the reimbursements for all the board members. Y'all do more training in here, so you won't see for the board members, just the superintendent. There's no professional consulting. There's no gifts received. That's questions about it? Questions? You?
So 98.2.
Okay. Oh, do I have to do that?
It doesn't, when they close the public meeting. We close it and then go on.
Let's just go on. Yeah. Recognitions. October is National Principals Month.
Yes, so it is National Principals Month. We have one principal here, the other principal, no, she's under the weather, so I told her she didn't feel well to stay home, so she didn't share with all of us. And so in your board packet is our proclamation from the governor of Texas, and I'll read it, Jacob, for you, so that you can Habit is the proclamation. Educators equip our next generation of leaders with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed. It is through a quality education that we place students firmly on a path that leads to a lifetime of excellence and achievement. Quality educators are vital to a strong, prosperous state, and this is true of the devoted principals throughout the Lone Star State. The Texas education system depends upon the leadership of capable principals. They cast a vision for their school and work tirelessly to realize it. Principals are not only a source of inspiration for their students, but they are also visionary leaders for teachers and staff, utilizing excellent communication skills, skilled analysis, and clear policies. Principals are an important component of student success. Each year, the month of October is set aside to honor the hard work and dedicated service of principals and to recognize the invaluable role they play in our education system and our future. The Lone Star State owes a debt of gratitude to those men and women who represent the best of Texas. At this time, I encourage all Texans to educate themselves about the contributions principals have made to our great state. Principals drive excellence that ensures a better and brighter future for all. Therefore, I, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, do hereby proclaim October to be Principals Month. So Jacob, this is for you. And then we're all going to the leadership team, we're taking the principals, they chose to commence and ask for lunch. So take that. Jacob does a great job, and so does Morgan, and being a principal is one of the hardest jobs around. It really is. Having to make everyone happy, make sure all the kids are taken care of, all the teachers are taken care of, so we really do appreciate you and all that you do at the elementary and for our district.
Consent agenda. Questions? Questions all.
And remember the new changes, we have to list, that's why you see in the minutes, how you vote. That's the new state law change. And that is why you have to read that.
Gotcha. If there are any questions, I'll take a motion.
I move the board approves the items in consent agenda as presented.
Second that.
All in favor with your right hand. 6-0. Okay, Carol's here to do our financial audit, correct? There are a few interesting components. You can maybe explain them better, but it has to do with the federal government and not having things decided upon, so we can't actually vote on it, but you're still going to give your presentation.
I'll talk in detail about that explanation, okay?
Thank you. Whenever
Are you
you're
ready for me?
Yes.
You're right.
My routine's the same, but let me coach you because it's come once a year. You got stuck inside that blue down report is this little packet right here. We call it our delivery packet, okay? So based on the years that I've done that, best practice is put this in one hand, have your report laid out. I'm going to use this as an outline, okay? We'll go through certain pages of the report. I'm going to try to be pretty brief tonight. It's pretty plain fiscal year 25 was. Plain vanilla, but we've got a unique situation with approval of the report, submission of it to TEA and to the federal government. You know, when you say federal government, they're in the middle of a shutdown. So that's part of the problem, okay? But anyway, I'll explain all that. Try not to be too wordy, but hopefully give you a little explanation. So with that said, let's just jump into it. And I'm looking at the outline, presentation outline. You can see there are 7 points on here. I'm gonna go to the far right hand column has page references. I'll go to those pages and then we'll go to a few others. And in fact, we're gonna start out on page 1, which is table of contents. And I simply show that to you, not to be elementary, but to make sure and remind you, I don't create this report. These reports are really in the format that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board promulgates. We must, I say we, and I'm talking about Hamlin, CISD, you must comply with those reporting standards or not get a clean opinion, and then that, you don't want to go with the consequences on that. So the table of contents, it doesn't matter the size of school, you can pull Abilene, ISD, Dallas, whatever the size. It's going to be the same structure, okay? A lot more pages, a lot more funds, but at the end of the day, it's real simple, okay? All right, so let's turn to page 4, which is the first one in that one, okay? Page 4, and it's got our letterhead, our farmers. And of course, this is the main audit opinion that we issue. In reality, all the work we do, as far as verification, confirmation, doing all your numbers, ultimately leads to issuing the opinion letter that's starts on page 4, okay? Now, so that is, in our mind, is the most important page in this report as far as our responsibilities, okay? Now, let's talk about that unique situation, okay? Look at the date at the top of this letter, okay? November the 7th. Normally, that would say October the 13th, okay? But y'all get federal assistance in excess, and I say y'all, us, and the CIC, gets federal assistance that exceeds $750,000, okay? When that happens, you're required to have a single audit, and I, as your independent auditor, are required to do single audit procedures. Those procedures are set forth every year in what's called a compliance supplement that's issued by OMB, all right? The current compliance supplement has not been released yet, all right? It's in a final draft. They actually had an initial draft. They issued a final draft so that auditors could do their field work, but we are prohibited from issuing a report until that final compliance supplement is out if you meet the single audit standards, okay? So I picked the first Friday in November. I'm a little worried now that it might not be out because OMB is directly part of the federal government, and I'm sure it's not gonna come out while they're in the middle of the shutdown. And even if they open it back up, there's a lot of other things that I think are further on the table. So it could be that those dates may have to change to sometime in November, maybe sometime in December. What I'm proposing to you, I just want to go ahead and present the results to you tonight. The tested on the compliance supplement was the child nutrition. And Becky thinks child nutrition has been picked on because she had TDA, audited child nutrition. But going through the determination worksheet, that was really the program we needed to do also. So the child nutrition, the 25 supplement, the compliance procedures look identical to the 24 supplement. The final version, I don't expect there to be any differences. So once it comes out, all we have to do, document our work papers, pull up those 25 compliance procedures, go and sign off on them. And I think we can put a release date. It's got to be after the release date of that, okay? So my plan is hopefully it'll happen in the next month. When you have your November board meeting, hopefully you can approve the release of the report. We can date the letters appropriately and move on, okay? So that's just a short explanation. So just as a matter of additional information, the second page behind the page you're looking at I'm sorry, not in the report, in the delivery packet. I've got a handout. It's got a picture of TDA's website. It talks about the annual financial compliance report, and I've highlighted in yellow down below some of what I just told you. Not only is the problem with OMB, but also TEA has changed their audit application that we do our submission. They've got a new platform. They've been talking about it for 18 months. If you read the stuff down that yellow area, they talk about a soft release in December and open it up in January. So I'm not sure that the final report will go to TEA before January, okay? That's not a big issue. That doesn't prohibit me from going ahead and releasing the report, getting the dates out or whatever. That's just a matter of submission with TEA. The OMB is more problematic for us as auditors. So that, is that perfectly clear about, as we go through, I'll try to point out, you'll see letters with November dates, and the board certification page is blank as far as dates. So when I get to the end of my presentation, I'm not going to propose and say, okay, you ought to entertain a board motion. You'll just need to table that for tonight and move on until the OMB compliance comes out. All right? All right, anybody got questions on that? All right. Let's move to the next item, item 2, and go to page 21. Page 21 is the revenue expenditure and changes in fund balance. It's the main statement I always cover. This is your operating results for the year. For the first time, probably in at least 5 years, this is as plain a fiscal year as y'all have had. You know, in the past 4 or 5 years, we've had COVID federal funding. We had a hailstorm, we had insurance recovery, replaced a roof, we had a jet grant that was $2.7 million that we had a receivable at year end that made the financial statements look funny, and all that. In unusual years, fiscal year 25 is plain vanilla, okay? Not many unusual things, a few additional funding items that you think, Becky and I talked about it, you know, the safety and security grant, that money's been a little more than usual, and you know, got a few, in the Title I area, you got some more extra funding, but other than those, it's pretty much been a plain year, okay? So let's look at the operating results. We had revenues for the years in the general fund. I'm going to go column to column. We're going to go general fund, debt service fund, all the other funds, and then we may look at the total. But I think by the time we disaggregate and look at that, y'all will have gotten the picture. All right. So in general fund, we had $6,129,851 revenues. Of that, the primary player is the state foundation program, $4,676,757. In the way of expenditures, we had $6,062,163. There are not really unusual expenditures in there, you know. There's a little bit of capital outlay, but not a lot, 200-something thousand. So those are normal numbers, all right? You get down to the bottom line, our net excess and change fund balance, $67,688. In my mind, when you're talking about $6 million in revenues, that's a break-even year, okay? We started here with fund balance of $2,928,030. We ended with $2,988,518. So fund balance didn't change much. Not an unusual year at all. These are just normal operating expenditures, all right? So I'd always like to kind of analyze that fund balance a little bit. That ending fund balance, $2,988,518. If you compare that to total expenditures of a little over $6 million, that's 49% of our expenditures, all right? So that's about half a year worth of operating expenditures you're carrying in fund balance. to be able to operate on. So that's a nice fund balance, all right? Not too much. And you know, you got to have enough to withstand until you start collecting property taxes in the fall, late fall, winter mainly. You need a little bit of extra cushion to operate on, payroll, order all the first year, pay for all the first year school supplies, etc. So you've got to have a little bit of carryover. 49% is, in my mind, about the sweet spot, not too much. Still, 25% I consider a minimum. So I think y'all are in a nice spot right there. So like I say, you look at it, says plain vanilla again, I use that term, normal revenue expenditures, you're right in the middle of where fund balance ought to be in general fund. All right, let's look at debt service. 412,484, you know, debt service fund is what we use to collect mainly debt service taxes. We pay on the bonds that are outstanding. It funded that gym building over there. And so those debt service expenditures were 328,400. So we had a net excess of $84,084 that we added to debt service fund balance of 693,469 to end with 777,553. And that debt service on those bonds paid off in 2032. And that debt service runs about 325,000 up till 2032. So you can see we got 777,553. So we're well in excess 1 year worth of debt service. So that debt service fund is healthy, and obviously recommend continue to fund at a minimum what the current debt service is, where you're in good shape there with the debt service fund. Any questions on debt service, what its purpose is, what it's used for? The last column, and by the way, GASB determines I don't get to determine columns. The ones that have special columns of funds are called major funds. There's a numerical test, you come with that. And at the end of the day, GASB wants everything else thrown into another funds column, okay? I actually like this because I like C3 to be on one page because it makes it more readable. And there's not anything significant in that other funds. That other funds has the Head Start program, Title I, Child Nutrition, that safety grant, other funds, and the campus activity, among a few others, all right? So there's not any of those in and of themselves that, in my mind, require separate presentation. So most of those, for the most part, were grant funds. So when you got grants, you know, normally you get the money, you spend it. So in the way of other funds, we had total revenues, 1,406,240. We spent 1,388,328. We had a net excess of 17,912. That, for the most part, was inside child nutrition. Yeah. Added a little bit to child nutrition. So started the year with fund balance of 59,537, ended with 77,449. There it is. I know I keep beating the same drum, but very, very normal year. Nothing unusual inside these numbers. Okay? Y'all got any questions on C3? Really, C3s are usually the primary thing I do to communicate operating results, and past that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about audit stuff and then be out here. So, got any questions on finances? Now's a good time to ask. All right. As you go back to your presentation packet, item number 4, historical financial data. Inside the presentation packet, it's item number 4. It's the big colored chart. I present 3 years worth of ADA, enrollment, staff data, student staff ratio, which is very important in a small school district. And really any district, but you know, your payroll is a major cost, primary cost in the school district. So your staff has got to match the number of kids that you have, because you're funded based on ADA. So that all has to work together. That 4.90 is real normal for a district the size of Hamlin, okay? And of course, still property tax roll is important in generating the local revenue. Your property tax rate, the combined rate was 0.9505. Like the other, I mean, not anything unusual in that historical data chart right there. Any questions on that? Oh, let's talk a little bit about audit stuff, and to do that, I'm going to move you all the way back to page 91. So inside a single audit, compliant audit, I've explained, we met that criteria. It's required to have a schedule of findings and question costs, okay? It is an auditor prepared schedule. So thus you see our letterhead on top. Real nice place to just kind of get a general overall of water audit results for this year. Number one, type of report issued. We issued an unmodified report. That was the report on page 4. I didn't go over the details of that report. Spent most of the time talking about the date, but it was a clean opinion, okay? As a part of a financial audit, we're required to review your internal controls for financial reporting and see if there were any significant deficiencies. You didn't have any of those. We looked for material non-compliance. You didn't have any of those. And then start on item number 5. That is all single audit, federal compliance type stuff. Was compliance with major federal programs for federal testing, and that was the child nutrition program this year. We had an unmodified opinion based on using the draft version of the 25 compliance supplement. No audit findings under there. Again, child nutrition is the identified major programs, okay? Your dollar threshold is some 150,000 because of the size of family. Did you qualify the low risk RT? The answer is yes. And the primary criteria on that, you have to have a regular single audit every year. If you miss a year, you fall out of being a low risk RT. You have to really have had no compliance findings. There's a few other criteria that they're kind of esoteric. Those two are the primary. So you hadn't had any findings. We've continued to do single audit. By the way, the single audit threshold goes to $1 million next year, okay? Talk with Becky, y'all are going to be real close to that, okay? It could be under, if it's under, means I won't have to do compliance procedures. It'll save you another audit fee. I'm gonna go ahead and propose an engagement next year for single audit, because she thinks it's gonna be right on that or a little bit above. So we'll see how that goes. But at the end of the day, it'd be great as far as y'all are concerned, as far as I'm concerned. I do not like doing single audit compliance procedures. So I just assume you fall under that threshold if possible. So anyway, from an audit standpoint, you can see you've got no audit findings. Everything looks good from an audit standpoint. Okay? Any questions on the audit results? All right. Let's go back to the presentation packet. I'm done inside that getting the financial report. Well, I went over the TPA report webpage. Glad I relooked at that. The next report inside that presentation packet is what we call the final communications of the governing body, okay? Required under auditing standards. Notice it also is dated November the 7th, okay? I ain't quite decided, but we'll probably get another copy of this same letter once I know when I can date it. We'll probably just email it to you, okay? So expect that whenever the release comes out, Right now, I've dated it the first Friday in November, but that could change if there's more delays, okay? There are not any negative items inside this. These are their required areas under significant audit matters. We're supposed to communicate. I always just like to put it in this plain language. What the final communication to you as the governing body is, you know, I presented you the audit results. You're looking at a release of an annual financial report. But outside of that, is there anything else about the audit process, the way it went, if there are any unusual items in the audit process? What do we as the governing body need to know about the audit process? It might be. And so there are required areas in this letter. There are no negative items from us as far as the way the audit process went. Questions on the final communication? All right, move to the next one. The final, again, is stated November the 7th. Or we will send you another one via email when we do the final release, okay? Top of that letter is the standard verbiage required in a management letter. The second area is the accounting function. I always brag on your accounting folks. They do a great job. You're my first one in the fall. You have been. Continue to be so. And, you know, you just think about it. Year ends in August. We come the third week in September. That's a very fast turnaround, okay? You gotta have your accounting records up to date, in good shape, where you can do all your end of year accruals and reconciliations and to be ready by the third week in September. So, very, very old and very complimentary of your staff, particularly Becky. Becky does a great job. And, that's what this part of the management letter is to say, hey, they do a great job with that. All right. Turn over to the next page. The last page of the management letter is trying to tell you what is coming in the future, particularly as far as financial reporting. There's been some rumors that Gabby is slowing down. For those of you that have been on for the board for a while, I mean, it started with GASB 68, we're up to 103. That GASB 68, we're just in that about 10 years, but it's just been standard after standard and change after change, and it requires more work of your staff, more work of your auditor to comply with those standards, okay? So we kind of want to slow down a little bit. I do anyway. GASB 103 will be effective for the next fiscal year. It's not a real huge change, but it's kind of broad-based. And really, page 7 to 15 in that annual financial report is a management discussion analysis that I helped you prepare. That is primarily what GASB 103 addresses, okay? There's a few other things that it addresses. It mainly has to do with proprietary funds, which ought to have. So anyway, as always, we'll be here to help you comply with GASB 103 and all the other standards that come along, and maybe there will be a lot of reporting changes moving forward. Y'all got questions for me?
We appreciate you always.
You bet. Well, I appreciate it again. Don't need approval tonight, so I'm not sure if everything's pretty standard, no changes. I'll probably will just send the board certification page, not come back up, make a formal presentation again, or do they have to think? So y'all remember, you got a chance, you can email me. If you got questions later on, you do that. You got a month at least to ask me questions before you finally approve the final product. Okay? Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate it.
It's listed as an action item, probably be tabled. So I'll accept a motion to table the financial audit for fiscal year ending based on when the O&P compliance comes out.
Also,
First, Chad, seconded, all those in favor? Consider construction project over 50,000.
So, this was the auditorium that was brought last month. And so again, going back, I kind of want to go back to, so when I came on board, this bid had already been put in place. The auditorium was already in need of new lights and everything. And so, Billy had already gotten one bid. I asked him to go back out and get a second bid. And so that's when we got a second bid. So I just kind of want to give y'all a timeline so y'all can understand in case last time I didn't give you a timeline. And so, if you've ever been in the auditorium for high school awards, veteran ceremony, senior, anything, it's very dark. There are lights out. And so, and the sound kind of goes in and out. And so it's kind of embarrassing, to be quite honest. And so, we went to Aspermont this summer. And Aspermont, if you don't know, normally hosts one act. They normally host it in their auditorium. Well, Aspermont no longer is going to use that building. They've moved everything over to the underground school, high school. And so they no longer can use that facility. So in our one act district, it is Rotan, Paint Creek, Jayton, Rural, and us in Aspermont. We're the only people who have a facility. And so it's kind of like, what are you going to host? What are you going to host in sports and academic and one act? And so we do have a beautiful facility. And this was kind of my thinking. One, it's an underutilized facility that is beautiful, that can be used for more than just our school. Two, when we do host one act, you have all of the people here watching their children who will be out in the town. But I just don't want this beautiful facility to go to waste because things don't work. So we did go out for a bid to try and get more people interested. People do not want to bid on these things. I don't know why, right, Becky? We opened it up. We got one company that said they were going to send in a bid and they didn't. And that was all that we heard. And so I talked with Ms. Clausen, who's done One Act forever, to see what we really need. And it's the lights. If you were over there today for the NHS ceremony, there were black spots all over. And so the lights have been previously worked on in this district, but it's like been a Band-Aid and they don't work. And so we need them to be upgraded. So that's why the lights are the first thing that we really need to be up and running so that it's not dark and they work appropriately. Anything you want to add to that, Chris, that you think
The lights, I think you're right, Nick.
So it's the lights, then we can actually have lights for one act too. And it's not just for one act, but for one act, the light system, because really it's not sound. They don't use microphones. They don't use any of that. And then we would work with Chris to try and figure out like sound and mics and stuff like that along the way. But obviously we know we can't afford to do all of this. But if y'all noticed, we went from having a $500,000 deficit budget last year. Remember, that's what we passed. Almost $600,000. We were not deficit. We put in $67,000 into the fund balance. Miracles happen. And so that was from us being very, very prudent with our money. Becky questions and keeps us on our toes. Asked me, we cut everywhere we did not fill. We asked principals to cut, and we've really been slim. So I know it's a lot of money, but we ended up not negative. We're putting money in the fund balance, and this is something that I really think we need. I would love for the elementary to start coming over and using it, maybe having a program, an end of year program or a Christmas program, something, but also opening it up to the community, because to me, that should be like the beacon of the town, but it's hard to push that when it's dark as can be. So that's why we're asking just for the lights, and it would be, if you look 2 and 3, and then the travel for that company. So all in all, this is an estimate, but you're looking at around $78,000. That's why the action item is for over $50,000. Because if we could take down, Billy still wants to talk down to see if our maintenance could take down some of the lights and take down some of the stuff to save money. But we don't want to get into that and try to cut costs where we can until we know for sure it's something we're going to receive. But this would send us all to LED lights. We would be completely updated. So I hope that helps a little.
And we're looking into, our goal is for future, hopefully, more use of that.
If churches want to use it, if different, I mean, anything, I know y'all do, I don't know what your group is called, I call them Boy Scouts, is it Boy Scouts? Like, okay, Trail Life, like if you have the induction ceremony, any of that stuff, that to me is kind of the thing, I don't know that we have a place in town, to use for like ceremonies or any of that sort of stuff. And so I think if we could offer that up for people to use, then for me, that's what I would want, because if not, it just sits there and it's not utilized in the community. For church organizations, if we did do dance, would be great to have dance class there. We don't have a Herman and Sons here, I'm not sure others, but I'm used to like that place being utilized, and then you would have your recitals and different things. So if we could also start offering like summer camps, like theater summer camps and different things, then it's something we want to start looking into.
We still do our band concerts and stuff like
Yes.
that there.
Band concert, veteran ceremony, NHS, the 6 weeks awards are done there. I want to talk with Jacob about doing their big end of year awards over there to make it more special for the kiddos. Maybe even looking at moving some of the other stuff over there. He doesn't know yet, so, I'm not going to talk too much, but some of the different celebrations just to kind of make it more meaningful. And then they do senior awards over there. I think that's it right now, right? I have to phone a friend in case I'm missing anything, but right now that's what it is.
I think all of this information helps make the decisions, what we're going to do. And, I'm all for, getting more programs on.
It's a great facility, just need to update it.
Does seem to be updated.
And the lights are horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
We're not talking about sound, but the sound is
Sounds
horrible.
bad.
And that could be, I think sound could be
Next year,
easily,
budgeted, if hopefully, if it's not, but if it's something that Chris can't, it's gonna cost money, but if it's not something that it's out of Chris's realm, then, it's something we could plan to put in the budget for next year.
Well, you already had an estimate for that.
Right.
from this thing.
And Chris can do the technology for sure, so.
So as far as sound goes, when I went and got my quotes for that, and then to do everything, it was also around $50,000-$60,000. When I go in there and just look at the equipment cost only, I think, and I install it, I think I can get down to between $15,000 to $20,000. So that's a huge cut if I was to go put that work in. Just to know where that stands.
And then all of that would be completely updated. The lights are costing a lot because it's all the LEDs, so it's all new hardware, cans, everything. And he already asked if we could reuse any of that, and we can't. So
where is the system that runs the lights? Is it
it's
on
in
the
that,
stage or is it
no,
in the deal up
it's
front?
in the deal up front. It's all there.
It is.
There's light switches and
Like the
stuff like
podium
that.
thing? Is that what you're talking about?
The little room.
The control
The
panel.
control room.
Control room.
It's where you control all the lights back there.
It's right on the wall.
And so that would come with a new, light board and everything. So
Is
it's-
that included in this?
Yes. It's all included.
That's where I was going.
Yes. The light board and everything is included in this.
Good.
So it'd all be wired. And I think previously we might have had an employee who did some of that, wiring, I'm not sure, but this would be done by theirs. And it would also have a warranty. It'd be covered by them as well.
Will it cut any of the insurance cost?
It may, I don't know. Insurance seems to go up every year, so I doubt it.
Yeah.
But it could, because it is new, LEDs and stuff, so maybe it could save us on electricity too.
Could hurt.
Yeah, good to her, for sure.
the people that spend the most time over there are when they're practicing for plays. They're there every single night for hours with no lights. Anyway,
Right.
so they're there. It's used, maybe not by everybody in the community, but it's used.
And we do have a junior high one act that also competes, so it's not just high school students who use it, it's also junior high. And it is hard, and I asked, Tammy the other day, like, what is it? She's like, the lights, because, when she's doing junior high and high school, it's hard. Well, it's hard for the kids because they're operating in the dark with holes. So if you're trying to set a scene and understand it, it's hard because then they would go someplace else to compete, and it it would look different or not be the same. And so, and when you're trying to teach kids technical theater, the crew part, running the light board and such, and it doesn't work, that's a whole other piece to it.
I remember back in the day, the cheerleaders would do their cheer practice there. Does that still happen, or they do it at the gym?
They do it in the gym, because I think they use the mats and stuff. Mhm.
I think they use that time to decorate the gym and stuff too.
They do.
Yeah.
I just don't know the way that, I don't know what the cheerleaders did before, so they could have done this then, that they would want to move back to the auditorium space wise. They probably prefer to be in the gym.
There's just more room to do their, all of that things.
Yeah.
All of that.
Because we, this year, one of the focuses has been, if you've been in a pep rally, they're come a long way. I think they're really good. We always have a skit, we always have a dance, we have at least 3 cheers. So we now have an expectation. So there, several of the girls tumble and stuff like that, and that hasn't been the case before. So
When you look at the other needs and the wants in the district, is this the number one item right now? I mean, I know we talked about safety and things, but that would maybe have to go along with the wants.
yeah, so right now I would say yes, AC and stuff, heating and air conditioning, we have a coil out, which I just approved to replace not the whole unit, but it's like $6,000 because that does the AC. Since we get our units, that's our biggest cost maintained, I think that we're okay for now, something we're gonna have to look into. The only other thing, I mean, is student technology, but that's outdated as soon as you got it, so we're looking at that. But I would say right now, just because it could be used right now, that facility, and it's not. The other things I don't know that we could afford to fix ourselves anyways, like
Do you put a rental on that facility when outside
We
organizations?
have rental fees, for all of our facilities.
Right, so there could be, not that it's gonna be a
There could
moneymaker,
be.
but it could.
You could charge, what do we charge?
200.
200. And right now, the only thing we rented any of our facilities for last year was a family had their Christmas get together and they used the cafeteria. And then when they came, the people to talk about the land, possible land purchase, acquisition or leasing, they also used our facility.
Christmas there.
A family had their big family, the Spaldings. The Spaldings. And so we do charge them because they use our kitchen and all of that.
Did we, in our air conditioning in the kitchen, we talked about long ago, did that, what happened?
We added a unit, because an AC, unit, a window unit. And then the airflow is able, and then they were able to open a duct, so there hasn't really been. There's been one, no, it was hot, they said it was always hot. But the AC wasn't broken, it's actually the heating component of it. But because they're cooking, I guess the heat. So it's been fine this year. I meet with Renee once a month and she said the window unit was fine. They had a little one and then Billy replaced it with a larger.
Lions Club was very hot, but I think they were going in and out the back door, so I think that was part of it.
It is.
I just thought about it.
Yes. When you have all the ovens on, it's best, I mean, especially at that time of day, probably to prop open the door, but the AC works in there. It's not the AC, but the problem is we would have to redo all the ducts work, and that's the over $80,000 we talked about last year. But that is that issue, and it's just for that room. It's not the cafeteria. It's literally just for the kitchen.
So if this is approved, when it's.
What's the term?
We would contact them to get started immediately.
Like
When
tonight,
is one act buddy?
Junior high is in November.
Oh,
And
And they're
then,
starting rehearsals tonight.
and then, high school we're hosting in November for junior high, and then high school is, what, February, March, February.
so we hope to have it done before.
Yeah, so what's, they have, estimated time?
We would call them tomorrow to let them know and see when they can get us on the books. They know that we're looking at getting this approved.
Do they know how long it's gonna take to?
I didn't think that do you remember the time frame? I didn't think it was very long.
I haven't seen the timeline.
I didn't think it was very long.
Okay, so it's,
That would be a Philly question, but I don't think it was very long at all.
Any questions about the auditorium lighting? Not, I'll take a motion.
Move the Board of President Lawyers Group as a contractor to complete the lighting system for the auditorium project for the amount not to exceed $78,931 as presented.
Sheila, motion, Jennifer seconded, all those in favor? Right, 6-0. Okay, academic updates, classroom walkthroughs.
So we don't have a lot, so we've been doing classroom walkthroughs, and so they wanted to just update that, Michelle and Jacob, since he's the only one here. And they're just gonna kind of go over some of the things that they've been doing.
It's supposed to connect. There we go. So giving our academic update, we'll start with our learning walks, which is what we call when we visit our classrooms. Sometimes we're with our campus principals, other times Christy and I will go as a partner group into classrooms, or we may go individually. But it's just looking at classrooms, just a quick walkthrough. And our purpose on those is just to look at the instructional practices, seeing how students are engaged. We also want to calibrate and be on the same page when we are looking at key tasks for our teachers, the grading system. We want to make sure that our principals, it's very consistent across the district on how we appraise our teachers. And we also use these learning walks, giving information. The campus principals use it to make improvements across the district when we see maybe something that's happening in several classrooms that we can, again, turn around and provide professional development or whatever we need to, coaching support to help improve that. It's also helping us when we are thinking about our teacher incentive allotment. It not only benefits the students, but also, of course, the teachers who earn the teacher incentive allotment. We just want to grow our teachers. It's never about you. We end up, Christy puts information together on the walkthroughs and looks at areas of praise across the campuses. And then if there's any areas of growth that we might look at, and then what the next steps are for the GC.
And I think if you will ask anyone on the elementary campus, and Jacob can attest to this, last year was the first year that we brought in coaching, and that's a scary thing to have all these people in your room. And now they understand the benefit of coaching, and now teachers have asked to be coached.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. So we've been really intentional about getting feedback to teachers in a timely manner. Even waiting a week, they can't do much with that. So I try to turn it around. When I go to the classroom, I try to turn it around in 24 hours, and always have. But I think that feedback has led to some of those requests for coaching, because if they had 2 or 3 different people in there at different times, they're seeing the same thing, they'll come and say, hey, I need help with this. That's kind of what we ask our kids to do, ask for help when you need it. And so when we start modeling that and doing that top down, it's pretty cool to watch.
And I'll chime in for Morgan, because she's not here. She's also been coaching, and so an example for her is Coach Stevens. She shared him on Facebook. She was so proud, like a baby mom with her baby, because he's a new teacher, and so she modeled for him and modeled for 3 class periods while he watched them, and they kind of co-taught together. And then what y'all saw and what she posted was him, I think a day or 2 later, and he was following what she had put in place. And so she's coaching him, and so we're not just coaching teachers that are in need, but we're just making them better. It's like a star athlete. We're just making them perform even more. And so I believe in coaching. And so I think it's really already starting to show in the elementary, and now we're introducing it on the high school. And Michelle, Christy, and myself, we meet every week, and we go over all of the walks. I walk with each principal every week, and we go in classes and we disaggregate. And when they did their calibration, it's really important because they all see the same thing. So when Jacob walks with Christy, they're talking the same language, or if Morgan and Michelle and Christy walk, and even if Morgan and Jacob are together, So we're not giving mixed messages to our teachers. We're all talking about the same thing. We're all seeing the same thing. It makes the evaluation process fair and consistent. Because what you don't want to have is someone who gets distinguished, which is the highest category, and then their neighbor who teaches the same, but let's say Michelle's easy and she gives everyone distinguished, and Jacob's hard, a hard appraiser, and he gives everyone developing, then you don't want that. So that's why we brought in the Region Center to calibrate, so that to make sure we're all on the same level.
And like Dr. Locke was saying, we bring in the Region 14 ladies. Most of the time, we're working through our grant, the Strong Foundations Implementation Grant, and work really closely, especially with Stephanie Burnett from Region 14. She's on Jacob's campus once or twice a week, every week, at least through March. And she's present to help with PLCs. They, I think, have taken over leadership of the PLCs.
It's a gradual release, so
Yeah.
we've been listening about, in November, we'll be running those and then we'll kind of get back to her as she phases out.
So it's constant collaboration. We try to provide the feedback, and then that feedback has turned into this support that we have for the teachers. And I feel like it's really a mindset shift in our teachers, is they really do feel supported. It's not like you're coming in to see what I'm doing wrong and constantly nitpicking. It's how can I improve my practice as a teacher? And I think they are very appreciative.
I think it's clarity of expectation too, that there's no questioning what I want to see as a principal. It's the same thing that we learned last week, really, that Morgan wants to see, that Michelle and Christy want to see. We're all speaking the same language, on Dr. Block said, they don't have to wonder if what they're doing is right. We're in there, I think, giving that feedback, they know exactly what we expect of them.
I would say the biggest thing we've looked at on the elementary campus this year, of course, and all the way through 8th grade on the math side, is looking at our Bluebonnet curriculum and how they're implementing that, the work that the teachers are doing during their PLC times to look at their lesson plans, think about their students' needs, just really internalizing all of that so that they can provide the best classroom experience for their students. So a lot has been done in that area this year.
And can I add some for the teacher incentive allotment, in case everyone doesn't understand, it's basically two parts. One is based on growth for students from the start. We give a beginning of year, because we've changed it this year, to make hopefully more teachers qualify. Beginning of year to how they perform on STAR, and they have to show growth. The second piece, this is why we keep talking about it, is a score. They have to have, like, what score? The 3, what is it?
They have to score a minimum of a 3, which is proficient as a teacher. There are 5 levels, from distinguished being the high
To develop.
proficient as middle, and then developing as the lowest. And so they have to have at least a proficient or better in all of their.
And so it's taken of all of the walkthroughs and their form. And so that's why it's so important that we do calibrate, because again, if Jacob was a really hard evaluator, which I've seen, it can hurt his teachers. I'm not saying we want him to be fair, but consistent, and we all want to see the same thing. Because if you have one person on one campus who scores one way, and one person on one campus who scores another way, it hurts teacher incentive allotment. So that's why we're really taking our walkthrough feedback and the way we do walkthroughs, and it's important we're all on the same page, and we're spending so much time on it because it does have to do with teacher incentive allotment. So I just wanted to make y'all understand that you could have growth, but if you don't have a 3.0 or higher in your walkthroughs, the teacher does not qualify for your teacher incentive allotment. So we want to make sure that we're doing justice to the teachers.
And regardless of if the teacher qualifies or not, we still have to submit all of the incentive allotment data to Texas Tech, who looks through our data. So if we have one campus that's low, one campus that's high, according to appraisal, that might flag something, and we don't want to do that. We want to be consistent in making sure that our teachers are going to get recognized.
And so Michelle looks at the data, and then I sit down with Michelle and we look through, and then we submit. But this year we plan to have more, especially with the elementary not being a D. It all goes hand in hand, right? Your score letter grade should reflect also that. So
anything else to add?
Or you got to go on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the impact there that all of this work has had. So first 6 weeks numbers. And it's so hard because I don't know if you saw, but I celebrated our A Navy on our kiddos when old school gave them pencils.
My kids loved it.
I was shocked that I think the whole campus, I only had 25 to 30 kids that got any pencils. I was kind of proud of that because we're pushing hard. It is hard. But the flip side of that is we only had 6 kids fail for the 6 weeks. So it's effective also. It's not just hard to be hard. It's making them work hard, but it's also bringing them up and getting those kids where they need to be. And I know Morgan shared with us this afternoon, she only had 5 kids fail on her campus. And again, I was in some of those classrooms last week. It's hard. So it's just good to see that we're pushing kids really hard and not everybody's making 98s. But we're also not leaving kids behind. We're meeting where they're at and growing them individually too. So that just wanted to share that.
Going to transition over into the part that Christy has worked on, which is our emergent bilingual students. And that means our students who have another language other than English and how we're supporting those students. Our enrollment, we have 25 students in our district, 14 students at the elementary who are identified as emergent bilinguals and 11 at the high school. And for accountability purposes, when we think accountability, they look at group sizes of 10 or more, usually 25 or more. So that's going to be important on our accountability this year for the first time at the high school campus. It has been for the elementary campus. On the top right, the program model is in every classroom, our teachers are supporting students to learn the language, using a lot of academic vocabulary, anything they can to really support those students and learning the language and being able not just to hear it and speak it, but to listen, write it, all of those things read it. Right now at the elementary campus, we have 4 teachers who are in the classrooms who are certified in ESL. And at the secondary level, we have 3 of those that are certified ESL. This year, we're going to apply for a waiver because every student who is an ED student has to have
An ESL certified.
an ESL certified teacher. So at the elementary campus, we have 3 teachers who are going to be under the waiver that they do not have their ESL certification, and at our school too.
So if you're a first grade teacher and you have an emerging bilingual student and you don't have the ESL certification, then we have to file for the waiver. At high school, not all of the teachers have to have their ESL certification, but the teachers that touch, so like your English, could be social studies, could be science or math, we're lacking those at high school. Junior high, we're not. It's high school.
No. At the high school, the first part, or at the district level, looking at our academic outcomes across the district, our students last year took what we call the TELPAS test, Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment, something, I don't know, it's long. They take that every year if they're identified as an emergent bilingual student. In the past, teachers used to have to collect writing samples and do lots of calibration and training on those things to evaluate students for listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Most of that is moved to an online testing system, which I know is terrific for the teachers. If you've ever been through a calibration on that, it's really difficult to pass. But in all of those 4 areas, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, our students have shown improvement. We know that having a teacher who is certified makes a difference. If they have that ESL certification, that's important. Making sure that they're addressing those needs, because I can't imagine going into another school and not knowing the language, so there's a lot to provide. We work with Region 14 staff and provide whatever our teachers may need. If they need support in preparing to take an ESL certification exam, we work with Region 14, have a coaching plan for that. And so that's kind of where we are. Is the bottom right there is the implementation effectiveness we're in progress. We don't have all of our teachers who need to be certified and ESL certified yet, but we are working.
And this is a changing, growing need for our district, and emergent bilingual students. This is a growing population for us, which means, we are also trying to best meet their needs. We have teachers obviously who don't speak Spanish, and so, equipping, teachers with that and no cell phones. That's really where all of your, translated devices would be for students, so we've been working on that. I think we gave iPads, correct?
To a couple of them.
To a
yes.
couple who spoke no English so that they would have the translator. And so we're just trying to work through things, but it's a work in progress for us to figure out how we can best serve our emergent bilingual students.
You have anything to add to that? Okay.
Thank
You have
you.
any questions? We can-
Christy has been out of town at a wedding in El Paso, so Michelle got to do the fun honor of presenting her emergent bilingual.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please have one for it, kind of off the wall, but how many students have we gained since school started? Is anybody have an idea?
Well, that number goes and comes, and I can't tell you. Jacob,
So since the first day of school, I think we're up at the elementary up 19, but we lost 6. So a net of plus 13.
Okay.
So we got 6. left.
Just ballpark.
and I know at the high school, in 2 weeks, she got 6 kids. The last 2 weeks, she received 6 new kids.
I asked how many EVs?
No, none of those were EBs.
We did have some new ones last year. That's a little.
But yeah, I don't think any new EBs. They started at the beginning of the year, and they didn't come back, right? And then redistricting, will happen, snapshot. We are at 120. The number's 104. So, I don't know, between now and then, October 31st is the snapshot date, but we pull the numbers every, admin meeting, which we meet on Tuesdays. And so that was the number we pulled last week, and that's for grades 9 through 12, that's how it's calculated. It would start next school year, every 2 years. Every 2 years. So we read all the stuff, because Coach Botus also is in our leadership, and that's what we did last week. We read the UIL handbook rules. And so we were all trying to find anything we could find, but it's 104 is 1A. Anything above that is 2A. So that's where we're sitting at as of last week. We do have some other families that are looking. We know we have possibly a family moving in. They put in an offer on the house from Winters, ISD, and some other places. You got 3 kids from Rotan last week. 5 kids from Rotan last week. Transfers.
Two
No.
families.
So we are getting a lot more transfers interested in coming to us as well. We need hundreds more kids. So, but Dr. White, we have had a bunch move in from the solar farms. So they all say that the 6 we've gotten, that they won't stay long. But they'll move on in a couple months. We have had that,
I
so.
was thinking one of my kids said that there were several new Spanish speaking only that they were trying to
Help.
have communication with. And so anyway, it's just a,
We do have a couple, but they started at the beginning of the school year.
it is,
Something like that, and everyone else is.
Uh-huh.
I was, and that, since you said the solar farm, I was thinking you said it's a solar farm couple from that.
Yeah, no. Unless, don't quote me on that, but normally we talk about where they come from at the leadership meeting, and she hasn't mentioned that any of them have been,
Ours came from
yeah, and then 2 people came from the same place, but they're not related, and they weren't, emergents either. I hope that the state of Texas will possibly look at, migrant status for like solar work, because that's the new migrant, if they're moving every 2 to 3 months when the job's done, but that's about.
That was the ESL we were like.
Yes.
Okay. Superintendent.
I want to thank Becky. She does a tremendous job. If y'all don't know, she had to close out the last year's budget, work on this year's budget to present, to get approved, get ready for an audit, all while dealing with a cafeteria audit. So Becky, thank you for your hard work. I know it's been a stressful 2 months, but we appreciate you and all that you do. So thank you so much, Becky. Thank you. And I've already kind of updated everything I had to update and kind of do it along the way. Just again, thank you to the principals and to Becky and Michelle. I mean, everyone does a really good job. It's a team effort, and I think we've really have seen that this year. Just spending the time together and being on campuses and helping each other out. So it makes a huge difference. So just always appreciative. If you ever want to see a PLC, a professional learning community, they happen every Wednesday at the elementary. Let me know and we can go over and watch. That's with the grant, and you'll see the work that they do in the internalization process. If you ever want to go on walks, I encourage you to come. We can go on walks so you can start to see what's happening in the classes. You would be impressed the work that's been done and the hard work that the teachers are doing.
Can I brag about teachers?
Yes.
So Michelle mentioned Stephanie that comes from the service center. So 2 weeks ago, she was here on Wednesday, and she's like, so we really need to look at doing something else in the near future here in our PLC, because so the internalization, you know, looking at how you teach and not just what you teach, that's usually a process that takes weeks for teachers to grasp. And she's like, your teachers are in a good place. Like the momentum's crazy good right now. So I want to, she's ready to move to the next step. So just, and that's a hats off to the teachers, because they're really just, it's opened their eyes and they're direction. I'm pretty proud of them.
Yeah, so we've had some really good feedback, and that wasn't the case when I took over last year at all. And so I'm proud of that and the work that they've done. I know Katie's been working a lot, also definitely helping coach teachers at the elementary school. There is an enrollment that Lisa puts together at the back of your packet, and you can kind of see the numbers and where we're at. The thing is, this is what cracks me up, is we get so many kids, but we lose kids. So like we get kids and we're losing, and we're getting and we're losing. So Lisa does update that, so that's all the way through 1010. I always forget that you put this in, Lisa.
You always forget what?
I always forget you put this in the board packet, so you can kind of see numbers. And what do we base our budget on, Becky?
330.
330.
So I don't know, this is ADA, so we have to base it on, we get paid not for all the kids we get here, we give them the seats every day. So it's a percentage, so if you have 300 kids and they're here 95% of the time, that's how we get paid. So I don't know what these numbers are.
We are very conservative. We don't go off of the recommendation from TA, because as we explained last year, I'd rather get money at the end and not be deficit than project 375, which is the number they like to say.
We're at 341 is what I did the last 6 weeks. We did on 330, we're at 341, so there's another more students that we both.
So
As of today.
anyway, that's kind of how we do, because the more kids we have over that, the more money we get, so. Calendar events. So the date that is on there for November 20, 10th and 13th doesn't work. So the date that I propose is November 20th. It's Thursday before Thanksgiving, but there are basketball games on every day, and then the only other day that would work, the city council is having their meeting, which is here. So of all the calendar events, that doesn't have anything.
The 20th.
20.
Thursday.
It's Thursday. There are nothing scheduled with the district on that date.
On the 20th, November 20th?
Yes.
Junior high one act play district at Ham.
Oh, well, it will already be over by the time we have the board meeting. Yes, you're right. It is. Yes, you could watch them. Normally, there's only 3 schools in our district that have junior high one act, so it would happen during the day. But you could come over and watch them. But yes, you're correct. Thank you.
So still at 5.
Still at 5.
calendar events we need to be aware of?
I'm trying to think in my mind, just Saturday is, band competition at Stephenville. And it's been posted on the Facebook page, the time I will be attending and then where you park and all of that good stuff. I think they competed.
Their ability is not impacted by.
I mean, it's a very tiny band, 17 students. Mr. Cross did rework this show. They don't march as much or do any of that stuff because it was impacted. I mean, so in a short amount of time, they sound great. I went and watched them in Lubbock, Saturday. And so, they sound great. I hope they do well Saturday with all the hard work that the kids have been doing.
That, no, just a.
A contest. Yeah, just a practice. Like a band
Third
festival.
place overall, one judge ranked them number one, for their class, for the whatever classification they ran. How-
1A, there was
Was it
1A.
1A?
Yeah, they had 1A, 2A. And I watched 3 of the 1As. So, and then I watched some of the 2As too. So, I mean, they sounded really good. And then, I mean, in a week, I'm impressed because the first time they marched that show was Friday. Last Friday was the first time they even marched that the change. So that's impressive. And so I believe that their competition is at like 1:30, 1:45 at Stephenville. And then that is what would determine if we make it to state or not. And then Friday, the football game is in Roscoe. We do not have school on Friday. So we have a lawn pep rally and, Monday is cross country in Arlington. Busy. So I will be out of town at a conference with Michelle and Christy. We will be in Waco. We will come home and go to the Roscoe game, then I will go to Stephenville, then I will come home, and then I will go to Arlington with the cross country team. So if y'all need me, call me and I'll be on the road.
You'll be at the corporate gym.
Yes.
Don't be.
But I'm excited too for the kiddos for cross country on Monday, so, then hopefully it will slow down for a minute. That's all we have. Do y'all have any events or anything else that you guys can think of?
I appreciate this as, I know Monroe's not here, but tomorrow ACT testing,
Yes.
next week SAT
Yes.
testing, that I just think we need to push. I know we do juniors and seniors, but I think we need to push sophomores, because that's National Merit Scholar, it's sophomores with SAT, or PSAT, sorry.
PSAT, yes.
Anyway, but I appreciate you.
Yes, and that's one of the things we've been talking about, hopefully with that, college grant that we could get with the Moody Foundation. It would be a dedicated person because, I want to start seeing us test, for Duke scholars in 7th grade, so PSAT. There's a lot of things that we can do and we know that, so we're trying to expand our college going culture and things that we can offer. Even looking at test prep and stuff for the ACT and SAT.
Say specific or just the time. Okay, it's 6:19. I closed this stadium for the Hamlin Police ISD.